Welcome to the final installment of your very scary Christmas presents. This is what sold me on the project, because I was like, oh, scary Christmas, man. I don't know how many people are going to be on board for that. Turns out, I think we picked a good slate, but the thing that anchored, the thing that I knew would bring it home, the thing I knew people couldn't hate on was the closer.
Yeah.
1984's Gremlins.
Classic.
It's a classic. Now, I came to this movie late because I didn't, there was a double X against me watching it as a kid, which is, it's I don't know, kind of vaguely maniacal monster movie. And it was also a Christmas movie, and it just put my mom off of it. I didn't like scary movies, so it's one of those things like, oh, gee whiz, mom, wish you could watch Gremlins. I watched it in my early 20s and just had a ball. And I watched it a couple times. I don't know why this hasn't made my Christmas rotation, because this is just a great Christmas film.
It really is.
I feel like that this Scary Christmas has been essentially a preteen to teenage Christmas. Like, these movies are the type of movies that you need to put away the Charlie Brown's Christmas specials, and you need to get the stuff out like this to keep the kids invested. Because, like, right in my kids' demographic, this fucking movie slays, and it just really holds up. It's just so much fun with just maybe one or two sour points.
Oh, are there sour points?
I
pretty much love
think there's
the whole
a sour
thing.
point or two.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's a very well written movie. It's written by Chris Columbus, who wrote, Goonies and directed just a bunch of stuff. Like, he was very popular in the late 80s, early 90s for this kind of stuff. And it's just a ton of fun. I mean, whether you're a kid or you're an adult, like, if you're a kid, you see this cute little creature thing and you're loving that, and then it gets kind of scary with the other creatures. And if you're an adult, there's some remarkably adult shit in this. Remarkably adult, mostly coming from Phoebe Cates. I had forgotten that. I had always remembered, like, there's a vibe to this movie, which is it's a little bit more subversive and dark than you think it should be, based on the puppets. I don't know if this is Jim Henson. I don't know who did the puppetry here, but clearly it's made for kids to some degree. But the adult shit that happens in this is crazy. Yeah, no, that Phoebe Cates speech is so great. Because it's like, it rides that line between being like inappropriately downer and funny. Yes.
And I think what sells it is like that just dead serious pain, and the camera just, and then at the end she goes, and that's the year I stopped believing in Santa Claus. Like, that's the thing that kind of brings, like, it gives you permission to like laugh at the scene that's otherwise like legitimately horrific. It's not. My God.
Yeah.
I think I threw you a little bit because I don't know why I decided ad hoc to do a little bit of banter before we did the details of the show, the details of the movie.
I mean, does not
threw you a
everyone know
Christmas
about this?
curveball. I mean, maybe not. Like, this movie, as you said, was written by Chris Columbus, who's got a long storied career. We've done a lot of his movies for Christmas. Home Alone 2. Got to start with Adventures in Babysitting. Kept on going with the first two Harry Potter films. Directed by Joe Dante. Now, you are probably a fan of Joe Dante, even if you don't know it. Joe Dante has done Piranha, The Howling, Explorers, Inner Space.
Okay.
You're catching up to my generation. The Burbs, Gremlins 1 and 2, Small Soldiers. I'm not saying that he makes a lot of good films, but he makes a lot of really fun films that make up a backbone of like my childhood and young adulthood, like The Explorers, Inner Space, they're weird movies. They're not great movies, but they're weird movies done with a certain level of, skill and panache.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have any complaints with the direction. There are a couple of shots that I love, actually. Steven
Spielberg executively produced this film, and I guess he had a lot of creative input and control, especially over like, the finer points of what like Gizmo looked like. We're going to talk about some of the audibles he called on this production, but he also said this was Joe Dante's project, so he let him, kind of have his way on a lot of important issues too. It stars Zach Galligan, who is famous for being in this movie and Gremlins 2.
Okay. Yeah, I don't recognize him.
This guy is not great. He is a loser. This film is stolen from him by a 6 inch tall Muppet.
True.
It also stars Phoebe Cates, who's super cute. You'll know her from Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Drop Dead Fred.
I think that's
Hoyt Axton, who's a pretty famous character actor and singer, who you'll know when you see him. Frances Lee McCain was a mom in Stand By Me. She was a mom in Back to the Future. She was Marty's mom's mom.
Mm-hmm.
And Howie Mandel as Gizmo. And a couple other various Gremlins voices.
Yeah, there are a lot of like talented voice actors in this. We'll maybe talk about it when we get to some of those, or maybe we should talk about it now. I don't know. There's Howie Mandel. Yeah. There's also is it Michael Winslow? Is that his name?
Oh shit! Is he
the
doing
Police Academy guy's doing
Police
a bunch
Academy? Yeah.
voice sound effects? Did you recognize a couple of smaller parts of very famous people from shows that we have covered recently?
Oh, recently, I thought you might be referring to the cameo by Chuck Jones, legendary animator of Bugs Bunny and a lot of Warner Brothers stuff.
I mean, the cuts don't have to go that deep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Mike the Man-Trout.
The Man-Trout's in this. Yeah, Jonathan Banks looking fresh-faced.
Fresh-faced and goofy as fuck. You will not believe this man could menace a Mogwai, let alone some of the baddest motherfuckers in Albuquerque. Some seasoning.
Another guy who you might not think could menace based on this, but definitely does in Fargo season 4. Dr. Senator is in this. He's the high school, the high school teacher that he goes to research the Mogwai. 100%, dude. 100%.
Oh my god! Speaking of seasoning,
yep.
Oh
fuck,
my
I wish I knew his name.
Glenn Turman, right?
Glenn Turman, yes.
Oh my god! Got him and Jonathan Banks. Like you had 50 years of these and Gravitas. Because both these guys are in a pretty goofy performance, and again a goofy movie.
Just said you add 50 years, and you're actually not far off. This is 38 years old.
Probably closer to 40, but yeah. It's Jonathan Banks when he showed up as a cop, of course, but just a really goofy, kind of cowardly cop. It was a lot of fun.
There's one other voice talent in this that you will definitely recognize the name of. Peter Cullen. You know where you've heard him?
That's Optimus Prime.
Yeah, it is.
Well, who was he in? Who was he doing?
I want to say he was probably Spike or one of those. Or not Spike, Stripe, rather.
He's just doing one of those villain voices, huh? Raspy
voices. The deep, almost synthesizer-like voice.
This film is great. So, I guess before we get into the spoiler takes, some things to recommend. This movie is like medium scary. Mm-hmm. And it's only really scary in the first third or so. Like there's a point in the film where you get your last solid scare. And there's a scene with Billy's mom, an extended scene of the Gremlins, and that movie takes to turn towards dark comedy and pretty much stays there for the rest of the film. And how Christmassy is this film?
Very.
I rate this movie Christmas as fuck.
Yeah.
Big Christmas standards. Lots of Christmas music, Christmas decorations everywhere, visible packages, visible trees, stockings hung above a fireplace.
Christmas lights are used by the Gremlins as weapons. I mean,
Christmas lights used as like Gremlins inhabit Christmas trees. Corey Feldman's inhabit Christmas trees. They're an infestation of Christmas tree inhabiting in this film.
Yeah.
Shit, I forgot to mention Corey Feldman is in this film.
Yes. Yeah, he is. And he's not playing the traditional Corey Feldman character. He is not a little shit in this. He's just kind of a normal kid.
He's not a total shit. I do think I can't believe this kid's more fascinated by 3D comic books than the miracle of life he just witnessed in this film. But,
right. The creature unknown to science that's sitting in his lap.
I think that, but as far as like how scary and how Christmassy, I thought Roger Ebert had a great guideline where if your kid still believes in Santa Claus, don't have him watch this film. But as soon literally as soon as they're ready to move on from Santa Claus, because that Phoebe Cates thing is fucking traumatizing.
Huge.
You don't want to drop that on a true blue 8-year-old or something and try and enjoy their last few Christmases.
No.
But yeah, once they got the star out of their eyes as far as Santa Claus, then
I can't believe
break out Gremlins.
I can't believe how fucking dark this movie goes. Yeah.
Okay, let's so if you don't know, this movie is about a kid named Billy. He's not a kid, he's like 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
But I swear he's written like a 16-year-old. He doesn't got much going on in his life. He lives in a small town. His dad's kind of a loser, but he brings home a new pet on the Christmas Eve or something like that. And this thing's called a Mogwai. And it's got 3 rules. You don't get it. You keep it out of bright light. Sunlight can kill it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get it wet.
No.
Why? Fuck you. And whatever you do, don't ever feed it after midnight.
Yeah.
And this movie answers the questions of what if you do all those 3 things?
And what if you do them within the day that you get the gift? Right?
Yeah.
What if you do them immediately and often? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a commentary on American culture, I think.
Oh, dude.
That's the spoiler-free review. And if you haven't seen this movie, man, you are in for a fucking treat, I think. This is the finest in like puppetry and stop motion. In fact, there's several points where Cecily, who had never seen this movie before, said this has got to be a remastered version. There's no way the puppets and stuff look that good.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that there's like 2 or 3 different occasions. She's like, this has got to be. And I'm like, I don't think there is such a thing.
No.
But, you know, it's a case of just like the practical effects looked great at the time and they are always going to look that great. So it's good stuff. Let's talk about this movie. Here's a sour note.
Yes.
Why the fuck does this movie begin and end with this goddamn voiceover?
Yeah, it feels like a Princess Bride kind of thing, like the story framework, except it's not a storybook thing. It
feels like the fucking Disney Robin Hood. I kept on expecting this guy to break in with the oodle lolly, Billy had a day. Like it was just really because he's got that kind of like corn pone.
Yeah, folksy.
Well, Pep, pull up a hay bale and play checkers with me outside the Cracker Barrel because I'm going to tell you a story about one of the
like
greatest
Babe
Christmas.
Pig in the City or something. I don't know.
It's the dad, but he's not even playing the character he's playing in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, the dad's a puzzle. The dad's an enigma that we can talk about. But and honestly, I don't know. It didn't add anything to the movie for sure. I could have done without it.
I just think it. And like it's so jarring at the end because it just goes away. And at the very end of the movie, it comes right back on strong where it's like, man, I was just kind of like a smile on my face wanting to go to credits. And this guy comes in and just farts in the theater.
I guess that's not the
good.
The one negative I could think of in this movie is like that doesn't need to be there. I can tell you one other thing that I think people might think is a negative.
Okay. I want to hear it.
It's this old lady, this old cat lady.
Oh no, I got no problems with that.
Okay, cool. Because it's a perfect like place for your hatred to go. Like they do such a good job making her immediately unlikable and despicable. Like both Alexis and I were sitting there going, I hate this woman. Like a visceral hate. I didn't want her on the screen anymore. And so they pay that off later in amazing fashion.
Man. Yeah, I agree. I agree because that's one of the best scenes in the movie, but I got some problems with it. You're right about this woman, though. She is essentially the Wicked Witch of the West. Yeah. From The Wizard of Oz. Like she's
I think
the literal plot of I'll get your little dog and torture it to death. Like it's crazy.
And they know that too, right? Like let's talk about her whole arc. It's not an arc. There's an arc in it. And the arc is her getting shot out of a fucking window. It's an old woman going to hell. Believing earnestly that she's going to hell too. That's the other thing that's great about her arc. She doesn't care about anything but money. She says as much, right? And the only thing she might care about more than money is torturing people. She is a despicable character. She doesn't care about the money from the dog chewing up her or whatever, destroying her snowman. She only cares about getting the dog and torturing it, Wicked Witch of the West style. And they know that. And then later in the movie, she gets her comeuppance, right? She gets in a just amazing scene. The Gremlins go crazy. They come into her house, they attack her, and she tries to get away on her. She's apparently like got a cane and she can't walk very well. She can't walk upstairs, but she's got this chair that kind of brings her up.
Yeah,
her
I don't know what you call those.
Staircase.
Like it's like an elevator, except for it's a chair and it takes you up a staircase. It's like the Earthworm Jim level.
Sure. But she has a huge staircase, right? He goes up, like spirals up through her massive mansion. And the Gremlins set it to go up at super speed, and it fires her out a fucking window, like a 3rd-story window, out into the snow. And when she lands, and it's absolutely hilarious. I love that scene, and it makes all the hatred of her worthwhile early in the movie. When she lands with her feet like kind of up out of the chair, and I think that's supposed to be like a Wicked Witch,
I think so
squashed
too.
under the house kind of thing.
I think so too. There's 2 negatives. And this woman is so hateable because all the background details, like you find out like throughout the movie, like she's putting a young couple with sick kids out on the streets at Christmas over $36.
Yeah.
So she's just like, and the thing is like this movie spends time setting this person up to be so hateable, and they really don't interface with the main plot. She doesn't really directly fuck over Billy. She doesn't really directly fuck over Kay. Like, she's just the nebulous. She's like Potter from It's a Wonderful Life. I think that's actually because there's a lot of Wonderful Life references in this movie.
Yes.
But there's just 2 sour things. Like, I thought that I didn't recognize her during her comeuppance where she's with her in her house, or her crazy cat lady house. Like she wears this kind of like red wig and makeup and stuff, and she's larger than life, and she's got this voice, and she doesn't do that and when she's in her house. So like I actually didn't realize it was the same character until Jonathan Banks exclaimed, "My God, that's Mrs. Deagle." I'm like, oh fuck!
Deagle,
I thought it was like Mrs. Deagle's mom, or I don't know, something.
No, it was hard to recognize her. I love. It was the eyebrows that tipped me off, because I love how in this movie they try and hide the eyebrows but draw them on with a pencil, makeup pencil or whatever, mascara. I don't know what they fucking use. But they didn't do a good job of actually hiding the eyebrows. It was more like they just kind of put makeup on them instead of silicone or whatever. And
that's definitely
so she had like the regular eyebrows, which were faint, and then the drawn on eyebrows above those. It was a real look.
Yeah. And the other thing I don't like about her is her character's theme. Is so
Jerry,
like bad, and like it's like what Billy and Gizmo were pounding out on the synthesizer upstairs. Like if they told the puppeteer to just go nuts on the synthesizer and then play that back at like 1/4 funeral dirge speed, that's what her fucking music motif sounds like.
Yeah.
So the other, and I'm going to talk one more piece of shit about this movie, and then I think it's smooth sailing from here.
Okay.
It's just good-natured ribbing from here. The Chinatown scene, it's a little in this. It's a little problematic. Yeah.
Are you telling me to show the Chinese, the long wispy bearded Chinese man in traditional Chinese garb, and then hit a big gong right in the middle of it is racist? Are you telling me that?
Yep. With his milky white magic eye and his smoke. Yeah, it's
right as he says dragon breath.
His fucking opium pipe out of the corner of his like, it's not. There's some. I think it's as problematic as the dad referring to this guy as an Oriental gentleman. It's just all that. It's that era of movie. Big China.
Yeah, Big Trouble in China.
Or Big Trouble in Little China. All that good stuff.
And I noticed that
unpleasantness over.
Phoebe Cates at one point is dressed up like Chun-Li. The first time you see her, she looks like Chun-Li from Street Fighter. I swear to God.
I think this predates that, so they're probably in the clear, unless some Japanese animator was like watching this and been like, "Oh man, Phoebe Cates got to go." You know what?
Maybe, but also it's probably like a traditional Chinese look or something. I don't really know, but like, she's got the braided up hair. She's got the big poofy shoulders with the frilly collar, and it's very like Chinese print.
I'm gonna watch this again this weekend with my boy, or maybe the weekend after this. So I'll have some things to look for.
It's when they're in the bank the first time you see her.
Can we talk about Billy's dad?
Please.
Billy, we're going to talk about Billy is a loser, and he doesn't, not a loser in like the way Luke Skywalker is a loser at the beginning of A New Hope, that he's going to have a hero's journey. He has a loser's straight line. Like there is not, it just, he starts the movie as the Virgin Billy and he ends the movie as the Virgin Billy. Like it's insane how he just never gets anything together. He like, you know,
he doesn't even solve the problem ultimately. It's Gizmo.
The only thing he does right, and props for him, is that he does hit on and successfully secure a date from Phoebe Cates.
From the very attractive Phoebe Cates, yeah.
So
where
like
Judge Reinhold fails. I forgot Judge Reinhold's in this.
Judge Reinhold is in this movie. He does have that flash of glory, but that's it. That's it. He doesn't save the day. He doesn't save shit.
I guess he saves his mother
not fall far
with the sword.
Yeah, I guess, but like, I have a hard time giving him that W because she fucking tanked like 5 gremlins all by herself.
True, she's the true gremlin killer.
And also, like, I think she takes that gremlin in the tree. Like another 10 seconds and she's chopping that tree down. So like, no, Billy doesn't even get that win. In fact, this movie probably ends a good 45 minutes earlier if he stays with the doctor and drinks hot cocoa and mom goes out and fucking takes care of business.
Yeah, she was.
Holy shit, that whole last sequence would go a whole lot different if you had Mama Billy in charge. But this guy's dad, the loser, did not fall far from the tree. Can you talk about how pathetic this guy is?
So, I mean, the initial setup for this guy is he's in Chinatown. He's looking for a gift for his kid, Billy. And I think his name is like Rand or something, Rand Peltzer.
Rand Peltzer,
yeah, it's the whole Peltzer family, and he's clearly not just on that mission to find his kid a good gift while he's out of town, but he's also trying to sell things to shops, and he's got this shitty bathroom buddy invention, which is basically like a Swiss Army knife of bathroom implements, like a razor, toothbrush, and toothpaste, which goes spectacularly wrong a few times. And he's just a failed inventor all around.
What's great about this is all of his fucking inventions are kind of this shit that you'd see from like in a joke advertisement in Mad Magazine.
The city of the future. Well, it's like the 1950s idea of what the future is going to be. All these useless electronic convenience features in things that don't actually like help you at all.
What do you think is the worst Peltzer invention?
Well, the one that doesn't even come close to doing what it's supposed to do is probably the remote telephone answering machine, like the remote control that I don't even know how that answers a phone, because you have to put, this is not where, like, there are no speaker phones in this age in houses. So what is it supposed to like catapult the receiver to you, or that the handset?
No, I think you hit the button and it engages a servo that lifts the thing off, and then it has the speaker and microphone from a walkie-talkie attached to the phone, and then she uses the remote as a walkie-talkie. And what's really great is, like, that's actually would be something interesting and cool if you refine that idea, like, you know, try to bridge the gap. But like, you're within a couple years of just cordless phones being invented, dude.
True.
Like, you're, you know,
Unident's gonna come eat your lunch.
Damn straight. Here's my thing. I think the most useless invention is the egg cracker.
Okay.
Even if that thing works correctly, what the fuck? What the fuck? How many times do you need to crack 5 eggs consecutively, or an arbitrary number of eggs successfully into a bowl?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's clear that they eat a lot of eggs for breakfast. Otherwise, why make this? But like, I'm more concerned with the finger destruction, because this thing is not like, it just taps an egg safe. Lightly and the egg like gets pulled apart. No, it obliterates eggs. It's a fucking pneumatic hammer. Like, think of BattleBots and anything you've seen in that with the pneumatic hammer coming down. That's what this egg cracker is. And he comes so close to getting his fingers stuck in that. I was so terrified for his fingers. But it's interesting to me, like the inventions. So here's what I like about Chris Columbus's script. It's actually really well written. Like, his fundamentals are super solid, because so much of this stuff is foreshadowing. If you look at the orange juicer, this automatic, and these things exist. It's not like he has to go out and invent this. In 1984, you could guaranteed buy an orange juicer.
Seriously, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if they had a juicer bro or whatever.
There's gotta be. I mean, and how hard is it to slice an orange in half and then juice it manually? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's easier to just stick it in the machine. But anyway,
I think
it's
even easier to buy it in a fucking carton, like
true.
You know, what's his face? Yeah. Like what is
and that
suggested
existed in
film.
1984. I know that much. So he makes this orange juicer, which just sprays orange juice everywhere, right? Like it coats the whole kitchen in orange juice when the kid puts one orange in it.
That's the thing is he's gone to something. If you can get that much juice from one orange, then the rest is just working at kinks, dude.
It's like a perpetual motion machine. It's like
if you can get
6 times the juice out of one orange.
If you can get 5 gallons of juice out of one orange, like the rest is just, you know, logistics and engineering.
Yeah, just put a big bowl over the top, catch all that juice. And so there's that. There's a juicer that sprays juice everywhere all over the kitchen. Then there's a coffee machine that like juices coffee beans. I don't know what it's doing. It's creating sludge. There's a blender that I think is just a blender.
The food processor I believe will process food. Like it
processes that gremlin pretty well. And that's the thing. That's why I say this script is so well written. Like the fundamentals are so good because all of this orange juice shit and the toothbrush, the toothpaste spraying out of his bathroom buddy onto him. This is all foreshadowing. It's all foreshadowing for when the gremlin goes in the machine and it juices him all over the kitchen, right? And then when Billy comes home and Phoebe Cates is like, your mom, what's wrong with your mom? This kitchen is a fucking mess or whatever she says because it's been sprayed with gremlin blood. That's all foreshadowing. And he does this multiple times, right? Because like Corey Feldman in The Christmas Tree, you think, oh, this is some weird quirky kid who's got a Christmas tree costume and he loves pestering the local tree salesman.
His dad's making him do that, I think, is what the story is.
Sure. But it's also serves as foreshadowing for when there's a gremlin in the tree later on, and the tree essentially attacks his mother, Billy's mother.
Yeah, the gremlin somehow pilots this tree like a mech, like a battle mech or something.
Yeah,
a combat suit.
Oh, and the sword thing, like in that same scene where Billy comes in and grabs the sword fell off the wall earlier when he closed the door. It's all they do have little bits of foreshadowing.
Yeah, and it's also like things that you might have thought the family is lame. Like, you know, this is a dad who can barely put food on the table, but he's splurging on like, you know,
$200
like going to someone
mogwai.
Dad, and like just to, like it's the type of guy. It's like you go into this place, this guy's house, and his fucking roof is leaking, but he's got like a really nice katana, you know, hung over the mantle. It's like I kind of got like it's kind of like all these things that you think are lame about the family become strengths when the family's under attack, except for the death. But I kind of buy that. But I think a lot of it also serves to just show that this mother is so fucking white knuckling life. Like she is so disappointed in these two men.
Oh, you think so?
That are fucking dildos.
They are.
And like you should see like the flash that goes over his face when this fucker brings home this mogwai, and it's a pet that's gonna have to cost money and all that. And like she puts on a brave face and all that, but like when she's given the chance in this movie to deliver violence, like there's a feral gleam in her eye when she picks up that knife. Right? Like she throws herself into this.
Yeah.
She's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of his buddies hitting that rebel camp in Predator, one woman army. She's got the raid flamethrower. She backs this dude into the
microwave.
This is the point where the movie, like, because up to this, like they play the gremlins like they're like a real horror monster. You don't see them like they're just like a quick scratch out of the darkness. You know, grabbing some guy's arm underneath the desk like it's Jaws or some shit, and they're like played really scary, shadowy, but this is the scene where the movie turns into the dark horror, because like this mom that's going through maniacally and hysterically killing these gremlins there's a Psycho-esque
so good scene with her where she comes in with the knife just like Psycho and starts stabbing that gremlin.
Assassinates this guy. Yeah,
I think there might even be a strings cue there from Jerry Goldsmith. No, it's good. But the father is interesting. He's an opportunist, right? He's looking for the next great invention.
And a rip-off artist. He knows this shit doesn't work. He might work in the future, but he knows that right now it's spraying shit everywhere and a bad deal.
For sure, because it's done it already to him in the movie. Yeah. I love how he sells this ashtray, the smokeless ashtray that produces so much fucking smoke that it chokes a smoker. Like the guy who's smoking in the gas station comes out coughing in front of this smokeless ashtray.
Yeah, and there's this great scene where he's calling in from, because he's absent the whole fucking movie. And we also know from Mrs. Deagle that he doesn't make any money because he's always in the bank pleading for money and singing. So like,
but he does. I don't know what he clearly does. The $200 he spends on this Mogwai is $514 in today's equivalent. Can you imagine spending $514 on a gift for your kid that then like...
I feel like he's burning through his wife's inheritance then. or he's like a Doc. He's like a stupid Doc Brown. Like he's like he had a wealthy family and he had all these big ideas, but no flux capacitor.
Yeah.
Like he just is a crackpot, because like it's telling when the show takes him to the Inventors, expo, which is clearly one of those things. It's just the design. It's like one of those small, like I don't know. I feel like a lot of these sales expos are kind of like Mark and con artists type deals. But this in particular, where he's like, oh man, the competition's stiff this year. And like the inventions are like Robbie the Robot from fucking 1950s science fiction.
Like,
and there's like a time machine.
Yeah.
There's the time machine from like the 1950s. There's like some classic movie props.
There are.
But it's like, it's just. What?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Did you see that the time machine actually works? Like they show the time machine in the background and like some guy's in it, and then they cut away to the wife who's talking on the phone. And when they cut back, the time machine's gone. There's like a smoke stain or like a heat stain on the carpet, and everybody's looking around for it.
People are goggling about for it. Yeah,
I mean that's pretty stiff competition. I'll back him up on that.
Also, Steven Spielberg is wheelchair through in the background of that scene too.
No, I didn't see him.
Yeah. That's actually cool. This Robbie the Robot is his very last film. And this robot started in, I think, the 1954 movie Forbidden Planet. He was the robot throughout the Lost in Space series.
Wow.
He had a storied 4-decade film career. And this was his final cinematic appearance. He was supposedly using like a 2017 like Apple iPhone commercial, but that's not a film. Yeah. That's a commercial. That's a whole different thing. So there's so many Easter eggs like that packed. I really enjoyed reading the trivia of this movie because there's just tons and tons. Joe Dante is a huge movie cinephile and like science fiction horror guy, and he's embedding like there's each doctor in this town is named after a famous movie doctor, like the Dr. Moreau.
Nice.
I forget like some of the others. And on the marquee of this movie theater in the town square, there was two films playing, A Boy's Life and like Watch the Skies. And those were the demo names that E.T. the Extraterrestrial and Close Encounters of the Third Kind were developed under.
Gotcha.
So there's like these like deep Spielberg Easter eggs. And
there's an E.T. in the movie at one point in the store.
You're right.
Stripe too. Yeah.
And the other cool thing is this town square is the exact same square that was in Back to the Future.
Yeah, obviously.
Like it's very
so
recognizable.
Obvious. This backlot is in tons of movies.
Yeah. So they wanted to do that for number one because their budget. So this film was released. But we're just going just talking about whatever the fuck comes in our mind. Apparently, sure. This film was released in June of 1984. And it came out the exact same time as Ghostbusters.
Why? Why didn't they release it?
And it still managed to make a pile of movies. So they intended this for a Christmas release, but then they realized that they left this big summer weekend open, and they didn't want to cede it to this other, studio that had this big science fiction kind of horror comedy Ghostbusters. And the studio Warner Brothers saw a chance to like throw a grenade. Roll a grenade into their competitor's office. And it was the number 2 movie that weekend, but only made like $1 million less than Ghostbusters and made like a pile of money.
That's a stupid, petty decision. That's a spite like, decision. I don't get it.
I don't even know how much more beloved this movie is if it came out that Christmas.
Right?
Because it's just like but it's like it's just like Home Alone, man. That thing too is because of some kind of budget fuckery came out in like July of the year, September. So like who knows? But I
wonder what Chris Columbus thinks about that. He writes this movie, he directs Home Alone, and then both of these get shunted off into the middle of summer.
Yeah, it is fucked up.
Yeah. One other point of trivia, like a background bit here, is there's a Toxygen 90 sign. It's like this area in frequent use of Toxygen 90 and this scary sounding thing. I looked this up because I thought it might have been a reference to some zombie movie or something. Turns out this was one of the crew members, like Jay Davis is his name, put this up to keep nosy people away from the puppets because they were looking around at him and like messing with him and stuff. And he just put this sign up that made it look like they were using some strange chemical and to stay away from it, which made it into the movie. That was funny. Yeah,
apparently the lore is that they were paranoid that people would steal those things because they had a very limited budget, like 15 million, and every one of those puppets cost like 20 to 30 grand.
I bet.
And they were like literally irreplaceable. Especially if we can get to like what some of the rewrites that Spielberg put them up to. Can we talk about the 3 rules of the Mogwai? Because this is something that the dad gets, and he's just like, no one takes these rules seriously. Probably because this guy is the most least curious. I would have follow-up questions. Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
You got to keep him out of light. Strong light hurts them. Sunlight will kill them. Keep him out of water. Never feed him after midnight. Now, I see a lot of problems. Are there any problems that you see with these rules?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the first one, the sunlight. Actually, not even just the sunlight. It's light, period, right? They don't like strong lights. I guess that one's not super dangerous because nothing happens. Like, they just get a little afraid. They just get a little annoyed if you hit it with light. So, I mean, my question would be like, how strong of a light? Do I need to keep them totally isolated, keep them in a closet with no lights in it? What do I need to do here?
Could you burn a hole through them with like a red laser pointer?
Probably. What about a grow light? Like a natural,
I would think any like
light,
UV, but like that's the thing is like, are they like vampires? Like UV is especially deadly. Or is it just the brightness of it? Because like I'm with you. Like, how many candles, how many looms do we need to get on these fuckers before they incandesce?
Does this mean they're naturally nocturnal? Do they only come out at night?
Like it, but it's a bummer that they can't eat after midnight if they're nocturnal,
right? You got to feed them when they're asleep? That makes no sense. All right, let's move on to rule number 2.
Don't get them wet.
What's the problem you see here with don't get them quote unquote wet?
So like at one point the mom suggests feeding Gizmo chicken noodle soup. If that chicken noodle soup drips on Gizmo's chin, is he wet?
Yeah, I mean the definition, what does wet mean? Like if it's too humid? If I leave the window open and it rains, am I in danger of triggering Gizmo?
If I sneeze and don't cover my mouth and a droplet comes out of my nose and hits him, like, is that is like, there's several times where gremlins crawl through snow.
Yes.
And I'm like, there's got to be a non-zero amount of this snow turning to water, especially when you track it. Are you just like spontaneously popping off gremlins?
I would think so.
Yeah.
They use it to spectacular effect, though. That swimming pool scene is incredible.
Dude, the YMCA swimming pool, it's such I mean, I'm sure it's just like just giant water pumps with a fuck ton of dry ice and a bunch of strobe lights down there. But it looks like an event is happening.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's the best pool scene since Cocoon, I guess.
And the escalation the movie takes there, because like there's a 75 minute, 80 minute like in and out movie that this is that movie clawing its way out, because they essentially have the problem contained. It's just Stripe. But when he fucking cannonballs into that swimming pool, like I remember like holy shit, you're going to have to nuke this city from orbit. There's no way you're going to be able to take on, because that's like the fun thing about these gremlins. Wait a second. You tricked me out of talking about the third rule, the most controversial one. Let's back up.
Okay.
Let's back up.
Don't feed them after midnight.
Don't eat after midnight. What the fuck does that mean?
There is exactly 1 minute of the day which is not after midnight. Correct?
Yeah.
And it is midnight itself.
Now, like, I guess, like, I would reasonably conclude any time after midnight until the sun rises. But I don't know why. That's just, like, definitely midnight's over. But, like, it can't be just the one midnight because there's no way those, like, he goes and gets a bucket of chicken and it just happens to be 12:00. Like,
yeah.
That and, like, just setting aside time zones.
Right.
And daylight savings time versus standard time zone. What the fuck does after midnight even mean?
This is like a vague ass Cinderella kind of thing, right? Where they didn't think about it too hard. They should have said don't feed them after sundown. That would have worked.
Well, at least that's a deadline. Like your princess shit is over. It's not coming back. It's like
right, but this is a beginning, and it lasts all fucking day.
Yeah, exactly. And Joe Dante in an interview is talking about how he knows the rules are shitty, but he's like, most audiences are not going to like give up on a movie in like the first 5 minutes. So he's like, hit him with it. And it's part of the unassailable logic of the movie. And then all you got to do is follow those rules. And they pretty much do. So except for, again, the snow, the water rage. I don't know about that. But
and I'm not going to give up on this movie, even if I realize that the rules are bullshit halfway through. It's still just too much fun, right? Like, I don't need it to be 100% logically consistent in every way. I'm not a fucking pedant. I will be for this podcast because it's fun, but who cares? Who gives a shit?
Did you think it's strange? Like, so why are these? So Billy is head up his ass, and Corey Feldman same way, and they spill water on Gizmo, and he, goes into conniption fit, and he spawns off 5 new brothers. Why are these Mogwai evil? Is it just Stripe that's evil?
I have a theory on
twist
this.
Everyone?
I think the movie has 3 main theses. Theses?
Okay.
Theses? I don't fucking know. The first of which, and I think the most obvious of which, is the world is going to hell and the kids are the problem. I think it is all over this movie. It's both. It's certainly from like the offspring of Gizmo being like terrorizing him as the parent, because he's fucking terrified of these kids, right?
It's true, right? Yeah.
This old woman fucking hates this kid and just wants to see his dog suffer. There are a lot of like digs at young kids. I wish I had my notes in a little better order here because like I have some other things in my notes. But I think that's one of the main theses of this movie is the world is going to hell and it's the kids' problem.
Counterpoint, the worst people in this movie are the old folks. Like the Deagles and the bank manager, like they're like terrible human beings.
That's true. But
no, that is an interesting theme. The kids aren't all right.
But the other one is the kid. In the beginning, like the old Chinese man with the fucking gong and the beard doesn't want to sell Mogwai to this old dude, right? No matter how much money, he's not for sale. And later there's a whole environmental message, I think, that happens at the very end of this movie.
Invasive species, yeah.
Yeah, you're just not ready for this shit. But the kid is the one who sells the Mogwai to him, right? He steals it from his granddad or whatever, runs out and gives it to him for $200. That's another message of like the kids are causing the problem here.
What's interesting is I guess the original script, Gizmo was supposed to become Stripe, and he was supposed to be mischievous and Billy be irresponsible, and the Gremlins get away from him and he turns evil like the rest. And then Steven Spielberg sees this bastard and he goes, and it's the one thing he had a lot of sway on. He goes, I want you to make this cuter. And he like kept on like, do this, make the ears bigger. Now make him this. Now do this to his belly. Now it's this, like make his eyes bigger. And he's just like weaponizing this like extremely cute thing. And Gizmo is fucking adorable.
Oh yeah.
Like,
totally.
Yeah. But he's like, there's no way you can take this cute thing and turn him evil. Like, you got to make this guy to be the hero. Like, look at think of the toys you can sell, you dumb son of a bitch. So the problem was they were way into development of this movie and they already had all the puppeteer working out. The Mogwais couldn't do much besides express things on their face. if you notice the scenes of like Stripe and his brothers like going to town on that video game system and stuff, they're animated in the same way that like those booty shaking Santa Claus things are animated.
The whole thing.
They can do like 3 things. What they can't do is walk around and do all the shit that the Gremlins do. Yeah. So they had this challenge of like, how can we? So what they did is like, all they could do is like, well, Gizmo will be differentiated because he stands in mock horror at what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And you'll notice like they always have an excuse to put him into a backpack or put him into a car, anything to keep this motherfucker from having to do anything with his hands or his feet.
Right.
So I think it's a great, it's a obviously this movie, I don't think it gets remembered if Gizmo turns evil and it just becomes like there's that like kind of heart that the movie has, because Billy is a terrible hero. And it also hurt Billy's arc because at the end of the movie, Gizmo was supposed to open one shade and Billy's supposed to open the other. And Spielberg said, no, have Gizmo doing both. Don't give Billy anything, because he's the real hero of the story. Billy gets this movie stolen from him by a fucking teddy bear. It's crazy.
Yeah, totally.
But I gotta say that Zach Galligan, like if you like, he doesn't do much in this movie.
No, I'm with you. I kind of want to talk about the other 2 like themes I see in this movie, because very much this movie feels like a movie from a curmudgeon who thinks the world has gotten worse in their lifetime. It's interesting that you brought up that point about Spielberg, like, because it sort of seems like it inadvertently happened, maybe, at least in that regard, about the him not turning evil and the offspring being the evil ones and him being the good one. Maybe that inadvertently put that message of like the kids suck.
Interesting.
In there.
Yeah.
But there are 2 others. One, the world is going to hell and money is the problem. And then the other one, the world is going to hell and foreigners are the problem. I guess let's talk about the foreigners one first. There is a character in this who's like the town
crank.
Yeah, crackpot and kind of drunk. I mean, he gets drunk, although he doesn't seem very harmful. He seems like a well-meaning drunk in this.
Well, he's driving around a tractor, so like that, like you know, lowers his level of harmful. And he also cheerfully walks home when he's had too much to tractor. Right. So
and there's an uncomfortable scene with him in the bar with Phoebe Cates, but it's not like sexually charged at all. It's just like an old man has had too many to drink and she wants to go home.
Yeah, he doesn't make. He just raves about foreign gremlins. He doesn't like say. Yeah, I want you to come back to my apartment. It's more of just like, my tractor's fucked up because they put foreign shit in it.
Right. And he tells like the kid when his car won't start, it's because that's what you get for buying a foreign car. When he's sitting in a or essentially a German vehicle, it's a VW Bug. The Germans, obviously known for their poor engineering. Yeah, everybody thinks, Germans, they can't engineer for shit. Right. It must be the fault of the car. Yeah. I don't know. And that's like kind of pervasive through the movie, at least through this character. The other one is the money is the problem. And I think this one is a little more there in this movie. It's not accidental, right? Judge Reinhold is like, he comes in and he's talking to Billy, like, you're a fucking loser. I would have fired your ass in 2 years when I have the president's job because I'm 23 and I made vice president in record time. I'm going to fire your ass. You need to you're pathetic and it's because you don't care enough about money. And then his dad is like tied up in kind of a failure because his inventions suck and he can't make money. There's a lot of like, money is ruining our society kind of stuff. And I don't disagree necessarily. It's just pretty obvious when you watch this movie.
Yeah, and it's like it's one of those early kind of attempts to critique commercialism, I guess, of Christmas, because, going out and getting this gift and, being irresponsible with it. And there's definitely some of that anti-consumer, the fact that like the Gremlins are, I don't know, like they're like the ultimate consumer in a way.
Mm-hmm.
like they just consume to excess and like to crazy degree. So like, and they're obviously seen as destructive, destroying small town America.
Well, what are they saying about movies then? They all gather in that movie theater and they're having a grand old time just destroying things and eating all the popcorn.
Themes go so far in a movie like this because I also think they're like, it'd be cool if we pay off the fact that these guys are like musical bastards at heart and they just can't help it. Like you give them a show tune or you hum them a thing and they're just there's going to be, because I actually really like that because that's a consistent characterization of the Gremlins and the Mogwais is they're drawn to these musical things, the beeping and booping of the video game machine, the synthesizer. Even the bastards kind of like to get down in that kind of way. Yeah,
that movie theater scene is actually like the synthesis of two of these themes where the kids aren't all right and money's ruining our society. I don't know why, but the Gremlins know and love the hi ho, it's off to work we go, the song from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I mean, that song is about enjoying your work,
right?
My God. I mean, am I wrong about this? So these kids, these offspring of Gizmo.
Home. Yeah, you are halfway home to like a really bitchin' blog article here, man.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm subscribing to your newsletter. Yeah,
the kids are all about the fucking money, and they're ruining the spirit of everything. They're ruining the world, is what this movie is saying.
Gremlin truther. This is an interesting 80s trope that like Stranger Things plays homage to. But where do we get the idea that a high school science teacher is the equivalent of like a research scientist?
Yeah.
That you can just drop off some Egyptian artifact or weird meteorite or crazy fucking cocooning marsupial and they're going to be like, well, I'll run some studies on it and get back. I'm going to stay here till 2:30 doing blood work on this fucking Asian monkey lizard. Like, where did that trope come from? It's
I don't know.
As ridiculous as the Asian mystic man.
Yes.
Because that's not like, look, I've had great science teachers. They're smart people. The best of them love the scientific method and they're trying to teach kids. But they would all be like, what the fuck do you want me to do with this thing? If I brought home a Demogorgon or, a gremlin, like, Jesus, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. Glenn Thurman just like coming at it with a syringe. It's pretty hilarious.
I thought that's an interesting because like I was trying to figure out like why did the one Gremlins turn evil? Because this Gremlin or this Mogwai that split off or they just did one at a time. I thought it was interesting. Gizmo didn't seem afraid of him. They seemed like very friendly. And this guy seemed like really chill and like a sweet Mogwai until, like you said, Glenn Thurman came at him crazy with a fucking horse needle and like jabbed it like from his wrist to his armpit in puppet terms and hurt him. And then he turned bad.
Really? Okay. So I was under the assumption of this entire movie that the rules had their own effects. So like the sunlight kills them, the getting them wet spawns them, and then the feeding them after midnight is the thing that turns them evil. Because that's what happens with Billy's troop, right?
What? But if
he doesn't do that in high school,
Stripe was evil without any cause, and they were like bullying Gizmo and all that kind of stuff. So but and maybe you're right, but I got the like Gizmo didn't want to eat after midnight.
Yeah.
Whereas, and this guy looked like, he's like rubbing his arm and looking at the guy all menacing and distrustful. And then like, he's like, I'm going to fuck you over and like grab the food. Mm. But it's also, the carelessness of Billy. I don't think he gave his science teacher any of these rules, right?
True.
Like he certainly didn't say the eat after midnight business.
No.
But I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like this fucking thing works in some of this stuff, it's like works in the Stranger Things context. And if but I don't think we ever questioned that. Like, oh, of course, if you have a science teacher, small town America science teacher. Yeah. He's essentially as well equipped as fucking NASA. Why not?
Jesus. His reaction to Gizmo is not like I would expect either. They've got this wonder of science, this undiscovered species here. And he's just like, yeah, I'll take a look at it. And he's curious, but not awestruck or anything.
It's the same as Corey Feldman. Like, you know, he spills water in Gizmo.
Right.
This thing jumps. It has these furry pimples that grow into full-grown creatures in 30 seconds. And he's like, well, that was cool. Well, let me look at this comic book with these janky 3D glass. Like, I lived through that period of time. And let me tell you, 30 seconds was as long as you want those fucking glasses on your face.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. This isn't cool. Throw it down. Back to the Mogwais, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Peltzer is right about that. Like, if these Mogwais didn't turn into demons, if you fed them after midnight, these would be the ideal pet. Like, Americans would love these fucking things.
Oh,
and
for
like
sure.
Corey Feldman has zero interest in it. It's kind of insane.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't say he wasn't a weird kid. He's just not an asshole in this
That's
movie.
true. Yeah, he's not like a misanthrope. He's not like saying the F word and, you know, shooting windows out of cars and whatever he does.
There's one other character I want to talk about. I feel like it's time because we've mentioned her. We haven't really gone into her story too much. It's Phoebe Cates' character. I don't fucking know her name.
I think it's literally Kate.
Is it? Okay, sure.
I think it is.
I'll call her Kate. So Kate has...
Or K. It's K.
Kay has a dark backstory. And you don't expect it in this movie. Like, the rest of this movie is so cute and so much fun. And before they introduce any of the murderous gremlins coming to choke your mother out with a string of holiday lights, Phoebe Cates has this line that just caught me completely off guard. She's walking down the street with Billy. He's walking her home. He's talking about how much he loves Christmas, how much he can't believe that she doesn't love Christmas. And she says, in her defense, she says something along the lines of, some people are opening their presents during Christmas. Other people are opening their wrists. And I fucking lost it. This comes out of nowhere, out of fucking nowhere. And it's so
she's like
dark.
Full Debbie Downer mode. Yeah. And you always think like, and what the fuck is going on? Also, Billy either uses this conversation or worse, the conversation. Is this one the springboard? Like after this, well, she's like, I love Christmas. Oh, yeah. Christmas is when people kill themselves. Christmas is terrible.
Right.
People that hate Christmas are the real victims here. He's like, oh, hey, you want to go on a date? You seem like a lot of fun.
Jesus. And that's just really the beginning. Funny. I mean, that story you talked about where she's given this deadpan look into the camera and talking about the day she stopped believing in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is a tragic story right there. Her dad disappeared. They looked for him for 4 or 5 days.
That crazy thing where you just like listen to us talk about something you haven't seen. She tells it's a story about her dad goes missing on Christmas Eve and just inexplicably doesn't show up. You know, calls at work. Nobody's in. It's been days. It's been weeks. You know, like it's after the funeral. Mom wants to start a fire to, you know, try to get some cheer going. They smell this terrible smell. Fire people pull out. Guess what? It's Dad in the chimney dressed as Santa Claus with an armful of gifts. He got wedged up there and fucking died. Merry Christmas, 9-year-old Phoebe Cates.
Oh my God.
It's and the thing, like I said, that makes it is at the end she goes, and that's when I stopped believing in Santa Claus. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
It's what I remember. Like I didn't remember a lot of specifics from this movie. I remembered a tone. I remembered it being very fun, but I remembered it having a dark edge. And I thought I remembered the dark edge coming entirely from the Gremlins and the shit they were doing because they like to like have fun with what the Gremlins are doing in the background.
Yeah.
No, it comes from this. It comes from me remembering, oh my God, Phoebe Cates has had a horribly traumatic childhood and she hates Christmas because of it. It's wild. It doesn't belong in a movie that is as cute and cuddly as the beginning of this movie is. And so when it hits you, it's just out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's iconic. Yeah. Like it's like it's also a hard check of where are you going to be in for the rest of this movie.
True.
Because the rest of this movie just continues to be subversive and silly and scary and kind of like that, just this weird kind of dark chocolate mix for Christmas. I will say the one thing that's always bothered me about this Phoebe Cates scene is it's bullshit. There is absolutely no statistical evidence that the holidays increase the rate of suicide and depression. In fact,
I thought you meant there's no way her father could come down the chimney, but yes. Yeah, go on.
I did the analysis. He's way too fat to fit down a chimney with or without toys. But no, there's in fact, it's the opposite correlation. The national suicide average, at least here in America, takes quite a dip in December and then rebounds in January and February, almost like Christmas. The Christmas spirit does stave off, these feelings of helplessness and loss and loneliness. And
that's
wild.
Wiz,
it's one of those things where you could maintain that kind of generosity of human spirit year long. Could save a lot of lives.
Yeah,
but that it always, because you can hate Phoebe Cates doesn't have to come up with statistical reasons to hate Christmas. Like if my dad just had a heart attack on Christmas, I'd probably feel a whole different thing about the holiday. But just for anybody who wants to rattle this off, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's not true. Flim flam.
All right, good to know. I don't have a ton more to say about this movie. I do want to talk about some of my favorite scenes because there are a couple of really great ones in here.
I have some. I do have a collection of favorite scenes and essentially trivia to go for the rest of the thing. Here, I'll open it up.
All right.
Did you know in the beginning, in the problematic Chinatown sequence, there is a wrecked car or a car that's like in distress pulled up the side of the road that the dad walks past? That's actually an original AMC Gremlin.
Okay.
Which,
did you know,
going into the Easter eggs and stuff, I think that's pretty fucking solid. Pretty fucking solid.
I only know that an AMC Gremlin is a car because of the movie Camp Nowhere with Christopher Lloyd.
Really?
Yeah.
My uncle had a Gremlin when I was growing
Seriously?
up. So yeah.
Seem like bad cars. I don't know.
I think I thought so too. And I think it's because these cars are kind of kissing cousins to the what was the car, the Pinto?
Oh,
that it was renowned for like engine melting and catching on fire and whatnot. I guess the Gremlin was well thought of. It's considered a fast kind of fun car to drive and is a super collector model now. Like, Gremlins go for big money because they're very rare and they're kind of in that, 70s modifiable car culture. So anyway, I don't know.
I've got another vehicular scene here to talk about. The one that triggers me as a homeowner. It is the scene where the Gremlins take over the snowplow and drive it through the front of the front of that dude's house. I'm like, oh my God. Mr. I can't think about like their lives are in danger. I'm just thinking about the amount of money it's going to cost to fix the damage to their house.
Also, like, I have always thought Mr. Fetterman dies in that scene with his wife. But there's this there's this DJ, which I want to get to here in a minute, that kind of like, has this show going throughout the movie. And at the end of it, it's barely audible, but they say that they've got a live interview with this insane story that local resident Fetterman. So apparently he got out. He didn't get smashed against a wall.
Nice.
The body count in this film is actually pretty low. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
unless you count Gremlins, because holy shit, that scene where he blows up the theater.
Gremlin body count is quite high.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Many confirmed kills. That's true. Although maybe not. I get some more kind of ending notes. I want to talk about the nature of the Gremlins because I think these are great design. This is a great creature design. It's clearly inspired by the Mogwai, which is very cute. But this is just a reptilian demonic version of it. And I really enjoy, and this is something that like, I guess I didn't realize when I watched it, like, when I was younger, just the first couple watches, they really blend the quote unquote real life Gremlin inspiration, which is, of course, like, I think these things were born out of World War II, like people trying to explain rapid advancement and like technology going wrong in the field and like, why some airplanes were plagued with certain mechanical problems and others weren't, that they're blamed on these Gremlins, that had to be worked out of the system. And they got personified as these kind of like little green men that would tear the shit out of planes. I think that's one of the inspirations for that one famous William Shatner Twilight Zone episode. That's kind of like
something on the wing.
A horrifying gremlin. But I like how they like, because the Gremlins are just these vicious lizard monkeys. but they also fuck with technology. Like there's a scene of them hot wiring the lights so that both sides are green, so it causes they, you know, hot wire Mr. Fetterman's foreign infested non-operable Kentucky Harvester. They hotwire Mrs. Deagle's rocket chair sled to the sky.
Yeah,
like and there's the ones in the theater. Like they're just banging on this shit to try to get they have this kind of natural affinity and gift for technology, making it work, fucking it up. And I like that. That's like most of the mayhem and kills they get in this movie are this just me and Gremlins, you know?
Yeah. No, the thing that struck me about it too, watching this, is they don't just fuck with humans; they also fuck with each other. Like there's a scene, talk about another great scene. It's the bar scene where all the Gremlins are in the bar, and for some reason, I don't know if she's been intimidated into it or she feels duty bound to continue tending bar at this place while the Gremlins are ordering drinks. But,
I love this scene; it's so great.
Right? So there's a scene that they showed, like a little vignette here that they show during that scene with a noir detective style gremlin over there, and his cat with his hat with his cigarette and his coat, and then another gremlin comes up with puppets on his hands and starts like annoying him. They're just kind of fucking with each other too. I thought that was really hilarious.
Like you get for 10 seconds they get the enraptured by jazz, which is another kind of nod to like the music being kind of a way to soothe their soul. And then like this one guy, like cool daddy-o jazz gremlin, is just kind of vibing, and this guy starts Jim Hensoning him. It's a puppet
puppeting puppets. It was really meta.
That's another kind of like next level thing about this film is like Joe Dante is not afraid to be kind of like that on the nose goofy about it. And like that 10-minute sequence of the bar where they're doing like flash dance, you know, callbacks and stuff. It's some of the most fun stuff because it's like whatever leftover ideas you had for the Gremlins doing shit, just put them all here. You know, they're going to dance, they're going to sing, going to play pool, they're going to play poker.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Stripe has a girl gremlin on his arm in his poker game. And I know that they introduce in Gremlins 2 the concept of a female, like a sexy gremlin as, you know, I don't know what to I hesitate to call her sexy because it's a gremlin and they're pretty repulsive. But do you think that this is actually like a, you know, like the very rare female gremlin? Do you think gremlins are essentially neuter and they you know, like they reproduce asexually? They just identify however the fuck they want? Or do you think this is like a prison Oz situation? Like there's no girl gremlins and fucking Stripe
like
wants a girl gremlin. So
yeah, it's like what's his name from Hackers in Con Air or whatever.
Someone's going gay for the Gremlins Day.
Sure. No, I have no idea. So they reproduce asexually, so they wouldn't have much use for like genders, I would assume. Or sexes in particular, but like, I imagine they can just be whatever they want to be.
Identifying in the masculine gremlin way, I would think, or it seems to be anyway.
They are mostly, but yeah, why not go off the map?
What do you think of the way they dress the town in regards to snow in this film?
Oh, it's bad. This is so obviously fake snow.
There's a scene in the recent released Netflix cowboy show, Harder They Fall, where they go to a literal whitewash town where like the entire town. This is what this town looks like. Like they just sprayed it. They did like the flocking scene in Jingle All the Way 2. They drove this whole fucking back lot and they had Larry the Cable Guy get her done. They just flocked the whole fucking. It's terrible. It's terrible. I literally think they spray painted the streets white.
Yeah. No, it's bad.
It's really bad.
I guess it's soap. Is that how they do it? They use like shaved soap or something. I don't know.
I think shaved soap usually looks good. It's like the go-to stand. Whatever they did here was just, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not good. I will tell you something I like the look of, and it's kind of stolen from another movie, is the cocoons they come out of, as Dr. Senator describes them, being cocoons. They look a lot like alien eggs, right? From the movie Alien.
They do. I actually thought when I was watching this again, and I saw a really good copy of it, like, you know, it's however high res you get. Do you think that they were going for, like, originally the idea was these were supposed to be, like, what's the difference between a cocoon and a chrysalis? Like, a chrysalis still looks like the thing, right? Whereas a cocoon is like, you know, it's just amorphous shape. I thought that they were looking to, like, do that these pods were actually like the gremlins in a fetal position, because I thought I saw recognizable legs but then I don't know whether they couldn't pull that, like, awakening sequence off, so they just went with the pod. But that's one of the scenes that made Cecily think this has been remastered. There's no fucking way. But
yeah, no, it's original. I'm pretty sure
it's movie slime. It's dry ice and some good use of glow sticks. They threw a couple glow sticks into those things. Nice. So when they pop open, like, that sickly green magic light comes out of them.
And
it looks great.
Puppetry and also stop motion, right? Like, sometimes the gremlins are stop motion. And you can tell.
Oh, yeah. Like the scene, like the one immediately after the YMCA pool, when you're like, okay, how many? And you see him coming down the street, and it's all like, Jason and Argonaut stop motion.
Yeah. Or in the kitchen, the one that gets stuffed into the blender, I think, is stop motion as well.
Is it really? Interesting.
Or maybe not when it gets stuffed into the blender, but the one that's, like, terrorizing the kitchen. Yeah.
Gotcha. I did see a couple, and it's, like, funny because, like, I thought the stop motion was not nearly as convincing as the puppetry, which
I agree
probably goes without saying. But I've seen some like, you know, you look at the Tauntauns of Empire Strikes Back, you look at the Rancor of Return of the Jedi. Now, again, that's ILM with, like, 7-8 times the budget of this movie, but still the stop motion clearly was not as well along as the puppets. You mentioned that Kay scene at the bar. I just like the concept of this woman, these gremlins just descend on this bar, and she's like, okay, these are just really surly customers, and I'm going
She's used to dealing with Federline or whatever his name is.
This is late Friday Night Fetterman. Yeah. She's like, I know. And, like, the idea that she's just, like, trying to get them as, you know, as cigarette fed and boozed up as she can. And so she finds an advantage, which she eventually does in a Polaroid. But those fucking gluttons, man, like, there's this I love the guy that's, like, right underneath the spigot and his, like, stomach's distending because he's getting so full of beer, and the one dude trying to smoke 4 cigarettes at a time. Yeah. The flasher gremlin. It's great.
Let me ask you about that. So it's very of the era, this flasher look. Why is the flasher look the way it is? Why is it the particular hat, the glasses, the trench coat?
And the trench coat makes sense. The trench coat makes sense.
Sure, it covers your full nude body in one shot. Easy to open.
I've not been alive during the time I've been alive and aware. I've not been aware of, like, a news report where people regularly do this thing. Like, they just go around and they flash people. But, like, it was a particular cinematic trope that was rife in the 80s.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was, like, a wave of flashers in the 70s that I just, like, missed out on or what. But, like, yeah, it's a very codified. They look like this. This is a flasher.
Okay, we talked about, like, how good some of this stuff looks, and I feel like that brings us around to the final scene, which is another one of my favorite scenes, and probably the best scene in the movie. It's got a little bit of Home Alone, it's got a little bit of, like, slasher flick, it's got kind of a little bit of everything. It pulls out all the stops once they get to, I'm going to call it the candy store, but it's very clear it's a lot more than that, right? It's like some kind of,
it's a department store that had a hardware candy window thing, kind of.
Yeah, it's like a Sears with a candy display or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. It's Christmas. You don't know.
That whole scene is amazing, man. You know, I talked about some of the kids aren't all right stuff earlier on in this movie, but the Gizmo kind of saving the day at the very end puts a stamp on that, because he's the daddy of all these. Or they're the mommy. I don't know what he is. What do you call the asexual parent of a bunch of rowdy teenagers?
I think you call him the asexual parent.
He's the asexual parent of a bunch of rowdy teenagers, and he puts them down. He puts them fucking down.
He brought him into this world. Guess what? He can take him out, and he does.
Yeah. But it's so much fun leading up to that. He's riding around in a Barbie Corvette, one of those pink Corvettes.
Which is, again, a way that I guess they animated around the limitations of these Mogwai puppets. I will say that this cements also Billy's uselessness.
Yeah.
Because I kept on thinking, like, if your mom was here, like, he's just so passive. Like, I get that this guy's a horrifying lizard monkey, but you know how you deal with the horrifying lizard monkey? You close the distance, you grab him. You're going to take some scratches, but you just choke the piss out of him.
Right.
You stomp on the rib cage. You use the fact that you weigh 20 times more and have like a 10 times extra reach, and you just physically dominate him. Like, you get fucked up by just being just being a puss about it. Like, oh God, he's going to bite me. Oh yeah. Now just grab that fucking thing and throttle it. Like, his mom would have gone to Sporting Goods, got fucking strapped up like an exoskeleton, and had this guy done in like 5 seconds flat.
Yeah, for sure.
I couldn't believe how many times he just like was just like, oh God, a ball hit me. Oh God. And like
oh God,
Spike's
a chainsaw.
Oh, that's the other thing is like, if you can't get a 20-pound gremlin with an electric chainsaw out of your face when you have a baseball bat, like, and he's just standing on top, I don't know what to do for you, man. Like, you just gotta, can you bench 30 pounds, Billy? You do that and the guy's gone. The guy's done for. Yeah. Like, if Phoebe Cates doesn't turn on those lights and if Gizmo doesn't open them blinds, Billy's dead. Oh yeah. Like, Spike has got a gun on him.
The crossbow.
Just toying with him. No, he's got like a revolver in the final shot.
At that
he's
point,
just toying. He has nothing but contempt for Billy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there again, Stripe outsmarted Billy when he was a Mogwai. So I think that, the contempt is well put.
Yeah. And he's about to lose the game. I mean, he's about to lose the whole match because Stripe is spawning more of himself. You know, they're going to be the Gremlin menace is returning in that scene, and it's only Gizmo who comes in and saves the day.
It is. And let me tell you, that disintegration scene of Spike or Stripe is fucking rad.
Yeah.
And it gets grosser and grosser. And then it has one last jump scare when he comes out skeletonized and it continues to melt into the floor.
The only thing that puzzles me in that scene is Gizmo's driving the Barbie Corvette. They call back to an earlier moment in the movie, and I don't understand why. It's the thing where he's watching this movie, and is it Casablanca? What is the movie that they're watching where it's like, you got is this Billy's dame or his guy or whatever? It's like this old timey movie, and they're like, it's her guy, and she's his dame, and.
It's not It's a Wonderful Life, but I looked up all these movies, and that was the one that I just decided to there wasn't anything there, so I don't know.
Okay, but they call back to it here, and I don't understand why. I feel like Gizmo is Billy's dame coming to save him.
Maybe it's something about I think they're trying to suggest that like Gizmo got the idea for this type of heroism for watching that. Like, I think that's that's the trivia that I read about it, and I'm like, well, that's not that interesting. So
he got brave by watching old movies.
Yeah, okay. He had the idea of like to do this last minute heroics. But that's interesting point, because I read that like the first cut of this movie was 2.5 hours long, and it featured. Like, which is a good 45 minutes longer than its runtime. And it featured a ton of extra material that establishes Corey Feldman and that Gerald guy, the Judge Reinhold character that's a giant asshole. Like, I guess the movie was going to be like a unlikely team up of Billy, his proto girlfriend, his bully, and this kid. And they were kind of going to run around as a group, you know, taking care of these gremlins. And because of budget cuts and what, they just kept on pairing. But at some point, I wonder if there's like a Blu-ray that has all this stuff, all this cutting room floor, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that supposedly goes in deeper to like his dad's whole deal with inventing. There's a whole bunch of stuff that establishes Billy as a comic artist, which you can see the vestigial parts of that in the movie, but it just nothing goes anywhere. You know, it's like, oh, he's working on this. He's drawing a Mrs. Deagle that looks like a horrifying dragon. But I wonder if some of that other stuff, like especially since, like, again, the original script had Gizmo going evil. So like all that like heroic Gizmo stuff, I wonder, you know, that's just stuff that they had to like come up with almost not post production, but in production. Because Spielberg is a crazy man. He's right. Gizmo's cute and he's super marketable, but
yeah, it's true.
So I had this idea. There's this Rocking Ricky Ruff. Or no, there's Rocking Ricky, who's this DJ, local DJ, and he's kind of spinning tunes throughout the film. And there's this great voiceover at the end where, you know, the thing's over, it's daylight. There's you know, the people are chalking up the authorities blaming on mass hysteria, but Rocking Ricky is saying, well, folks, it's been a rough night for Rocking Ricky, but I'm still on the air. We got Marines standing by with fire hoses. We're going to turn the hoses. Apparently he's been holed up in, you know, by, you know, like these gremlins are assaulting all over the place. It feels like this is a split off faction, the Gremlins, that win another town over. Because they're still doing this while, you know, Spike has been eliminated. So I thought like, man, it'd be a great idea for a Gremlins 3, because they already fucked up with Gremlins 2. I want to see Gremlins 3, which is Rocking Ricky and his night-long battle at the radio station against the Gremlins. Yeah. And it can be like The Thing.
Like a Pontypool sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can be something like The Thing too, where like it ends at an obvious bad idea. Like the Marines are there with the riot hoses and they're about to turn on and you could see the water go and then it like fades to black and you just know like, oh God, it's a bad idea. Yeah. But I feel like this film doesn't grapple with that idea. The fact that these gremlins, you know, had an effect. You know, there's a guy apparently transmitting his battle with them all night. There was, you know, news people just like, how are they going to cover this up and blame it on a mass hysteria? Yeah,
I don't know how they would. I'm not sure what they think they're going to accomplish by turning the hoses on the gremlins either. Like, this doesn't seem like a situation where you would want to use passive aggression. It doesn't seem like water hoses are going to solve your problem. They're just going to push them back, I suppose.
It's like if you had a bunch of rabid baboons that escaped from the zoo, I don't think they would use fire hoses to control them. Now, I don't know. Maybe if there was hundreds of them, but I did like the idea of them. You have hundreds of gremlins and you're like, fuck it, riot control, fire up the fire hoses. And now you have 100,000 gremlins. Like,
yeah, it's a great idea. And maybe they didn't have the scale, right? Because like back in the day, you don't have the CG to come in here and show 100,000 gremlins. So you're not really going to be able to make 100,000 puppets. 100. Yeah. Right. Or stop motion creatures. So maybe they just realized, oh shit, that's too big of an idea for the 1980s.
There's a couple other like cool like Christmas Easter eggs here, like the fact that they're playing It's a Wonderful Life, you know, that's a classic. But the educational film they were showing in the science class about the sizes of the hearts was a science series that they shot in the 50s called Hemo the Magnificent. And this short was written and directed by Frank Capra, who you'll know is the writer and director from It's a Wonderful Life. So I thought that was kind of another, like, you know, like all the movies that they showed, except for that, I forget, there was another connection that like, you know, kind of gangster adventure movie, but like all of them had the connection back to Frank Capra, Wonderful Life, stuff like that. Pretty cool. Yeah. One other thing, I feel like we mentioned this, but I didn't get all the way into it. Like, did you notice when Mrs. Deagle, like she's like, we talked about how she's the worst and she meets the gremlins by the fact that she hates carolers so much, she's going to take a pitcher of ice water and throw it on them in the winter. Carolers, Christmas carolers. And when she sees that they're the gremlins, when she slams the door and starts like she's hysterically crying, she's saying, my God, they're here. They've come for me. I'm not ready. I think this is a lady that is convinced. She's like Martin Scorsese. She's convinced that the flames of hell are awaiting her. And these are the demons there to take her. Like, she knows. Yeah. She knows she's going to hell.
Is there not a line in this movie about that too? Earlier on?
Is there?
I can't remember. Maybe I'm thinking of, Scorsese and how we've talked about him, but I don't know. No, you're definitely right. She thinks like her time is up and now she has to pay
And you're gonna, if you're burning right now, the devil caught you right on the pavement and took you right down, Mrs. Deagle. You're a terrible person.
You know who
Evicting
else?
a family over $36. Come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
no, it's a bad look. Also a bad look. Corey Feldman. I mean, I talked about, how I expected him to be a shit in this, and he's kind of not. But there is one scene that makes me raise my eyebrows, and it's when he is fighting the Gremlins, and he goes out and he cuts the string of Christmas lights, and he's cutting it like with this massive pair of metal scissors, like big ass metal. Like you would cut leather with or something. I don't know how much you remember about like Christmas lights from the 80s, because I didn't celebrate Christmas, so
sure.
I just hear about this as hearsay, but those things are fucking dangerous. It's not like they have fuses built into those strings. It's not like they do
now. I don't know if they did, but yeah.
They don't. They don't back in the day in 1984.
Wow.
There's no way. There's no way they have fuses built into those. So the Christmas Vacation doesn't happen if fuses are built into these things.
This is true.
So he's like risking life and limb here. I couldn't believe it when I saw him cut that light.
I actually thought that too, and they have this like big like electrical arc that goes through. I was kind of surprised that he didn't get a little juice from that.
Yeah,
like I said, I don't know how that would all work with like circuit breakers and all that, but like yeah. He just snaps that thing, sparks, not a care in the world.
Dangerous.
How, I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, how Christmassy do you think this movie is?
Oh, it's pretty Christmassy. It's not like the most Christmassy movie, but it's definitely more than like Die Hard.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, the thing is like, I think it's like almost a 10 for 10, except for you got to take some off for the bah humbug that Phoebe Cates is bringing. That's dead dad.
Yeah,
Santa Claus
although
story.
It is very Christmassy
Christmas
story.
kryptonite.
That's a story that could only happen during Christmas.
This is true. It is very Christmassy.
Yeah.
In fact, all of the in turn, I know this is very scary at Christmas, but like these have been like one of their Christmiest lineups. Like you said, Die Hard and
Lethal Weapon is like
Lethal Weapon. Yeah, it's got some Christmas dressing for sure, and it's got Christmas music, but this has got all that stuff in spades. The only thing holding it back is the fake snow. That's just bad. It's just really bad. And Phoebe Cates really being a Ebenezer Scrooge on Christmas Eve. That's it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed our very scary, very merry, scary Christmas this year. I assume I'll have. I've had a blast at the movies. We recorded these in like October and November. So I'm assuming we'll have a lot of fun with the live streams and the festive lunches and all the other stuff too. But just thank you for being a club member. Of course, the club's a big thing. We're considered the classic club and patrons and that. Sometimes I forget to say them both, but I just want to make sure everyone knows how much we appreciate your support. I tell you, I saw so many people this year talk about how like our Christmas lunches, like re-listening to the years past, has become part of their Christmas traditions. And I hear people say stuff like, how much they were looking forward to the Secret Santa stuff this year.
Yeah. And
I love Christmas, and I gotta say, it's one of the coolest things that people have incorporated us into their annual traditions too. Yeah. So,
and I love it last year. I mean, I always love our Christmas traditions, but last year was something special with the Secret Santa, and everybody kind of needed it then. I think we sort of still need it now, so I'm glad we did it again. But
it's the reason we do Christmas every year. We do need the shot in the arm, as Harmon says on Community. It's the crazy time where we pretend that in the darkest period of our lives we can hang up some lights and sing some silly songs and feel better about ourselves, and then the crazy thing is it actually comes true.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys had a merry, scary Christmas, and can't wait to do it again next year. Have a happy new year, and we'll see you in 2022, everybody. That's it. We're out.